Justice brings you
Top of the morning from beautiful downtown Boston.
To celebrate the 29th anniversary of the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame, which we mark every year by recognizing outstanding women who have worked tirelessly to advance the rights of women and young girls. My name is Sue Palka. I do the evening weather on Fox WTTG in Washington, D.C. You know, you take your chances when you invite me to one of these things, because sometimes the weather can go south on us, but let me tell you, it is great to be out and about on the first day of spring. And feel free to ask me about Tuesday's weather right after we're done with the program. It's interesting because we started the honoring of women in the commission here in 1985, and that happens to be the year that I moved to Maryland from Virginia. The best decision I ever made in my life. I've been here for 29 years. I love Maryland, and I love the fact that this state embraces strong women, as we have seen today. I just heard Governor O'Malley speaking in the mansion just a few minutes ago, and he said his wife, Katie, always says, "More women, more justice." Right? And he quoted also President Obama, who said, "When women succeed, America succeeds." And that's what we're celebrating tonight right here in Maryland. Our distinguished honorees tonight are going to join others in our Hall of Fame, including Harriet Tubman, Clara Barton, Sister Elizabeth Ann Seton, Rachel Carson, Gladys Noon Spellman. What a wonderful legacy to be joining, and I'm so proud to be from this state. And by the way, to have raised my two daughters in this state. They're Maryland girls, and they're going to be strong as a result of it. This year's selected honorees have made notable contributions in a variety of disciplines, including but not limited to public service, women's health, and the advancement of social justice and civil rights. These exceptional women have paved the way, and we are here tonight to pay tribute and to thank them for their hard work and dedication. The Maryland Women's Hall of Fame, as you just heard me mention, was established in 1985 through the efforts of the Maryland Commission for Women and the women legislators of Maryland. The purpose of the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame is to honor Maryland women who have exemplified exceptional courage and leadership in advocating for women's rights and advancement. Every day, these women continue to dismantle barriers and shatter glass ceilings so that they can empower our next generation of future female leaders. The annual ceremony acts to enhance the visibility of women's contributions to the communities they serve, the state of Maryland, and to the wider world. Through the creation of the Maryland Women's Heritage Center, the Hall of Fame now has a home and will exhibit the lifelong accomplishments of our honorees for decades to come. Now I would like to call to the stage our first speaker. It is Ms. Pat Cornish. She is the chair for the Maryland Commission for Women. Pat will provide our welcoming remarks and introductions of the commissioners and the elected officials who are present with us this evening. Please welcome Pat warmly.
Thank you. Good evening. I was going to say welcome on the first day of spring as well. We're really grateful for this beautiful weather. I'm Pat Cornish. I'm the chair of the Commission for Women, and I originally hail from Montgomery County, but I'm now a 5-year resident of Talbot County. Just to tell you what the Maryland Commission does, we are a commission that works with Maryland state government to advance solutions and to expand social, political, and economic equality. It's my pleasure to recognize commissioners who are here with us this evening. Not all of them were able to join us. Lee Bachu of Montgomery County. If I ask you to please stand if you're here and wave.
I'm right here.
Where are you, Lee? Thank you. Susan Elgin from Baltimore City. Susan. Lynn Fattrell, St. Mary's County. Helen Holton, Baltimore City. Anita Riley, Carroll County. Debbie Risper, Baltimore County. Rosanna Voigt, Calvert County. Dr. Kathleen White, Baltimore County. Diane Williams, Prince George's County. And tonight's event co-chairs, Velvet Johnson from Prince George's County and Lillian Cruz from Montgomery County. We are very honored to have with us this evening Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown, who will be introduced later. And Lieutenant Governor, welcome. And we would like to ask the elected officials who are in the audience with us this evening to do what we like you to do, and that is to stand and tell us who you are so we don't miss any of you. So please all stand, and then we'll start with some introductions. I know you're all out there.
Aisha Brayboy, State Delegate from the 25th District.
Thank you.
Good evening, Deborah Davis, Commissioner from Charles County.
On this side of the room?
Yes, Helen Holton, Baltimore City Council.
Thank you.
Jennifer Foreman, Maryland State Senator from Rockville, and this is, I'll be retiring after this 36 years.
Do we miss anyone else? I know there's someone in the audience here who was a former First Lady. Would we ask you to please stand and introduce yourself?
I'm Francie Glendenny, I'm the lady in red.
Anyone else hiding out here that we didn't recognize? All right, please help me welcome Velvet Johnson, who will introduce Lieutenant Governor Brown.
Good evening and welcome. It is a great honor to be surrounded by such remarkably strong women. This is the second time that I've had the pleasure of attending this event, and it is one of the highlights of my year because I always walk away feeling inspired by these women and even more determined to reflect their character in my own personal life. But as I reflect upon our advancements, I recognize that we are not in this alone. Rather, this movement brings together men and boys at all stages of life who are committed to progress for all. And one of those men is our very own Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown. Lieutenant Governor Brown has served as a tremendous advocate promoting the rights and opportunities of women and girls throughout the state of Maryland. Whether it's by working to pass laws that protect victims of domestic violence or ensuring that women and young girls have proper access to health care and education, Lieutenant Governor Brown continues to stand strong for women's empowerment. He is committed to listening to us, amplifying our voices, and making sure that our interests and needs remain a priority. Please join me in welcoming our very own Maryland Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown.
Thank you, Velvet. How's everyone doing this evening? All righty, good. I see. Where's my Prince George County contingent? All right. Back there, good. Where's our Western Maryland contingent? Eastern Shore? Okay. Where's Southern Maryland? What about how about from the Northeast? Or Can I ask Montgomery County? You here? Everybody else who I missed, are you here? Look, it's great to be here this evening with you, and I want to thank a number of people. First, I want to thank our Secretary of the Department of Human Resources, Ted Dallas, you and your leadership team supporting the commission and the work that they do. So let's give a round of applause to Ted Dallas. You're a professional, human resources professionals, done fantastic work. I want to thank Patricia Cornish. Thank you for your leadership on the chair of the Maryland Commission for Women. We really appreciate everything that you're doing, you and your colleagues, and certainly your effort and your effectiveness far exceeds the salaries that we pay all of you combined. And thank you, Velvet, for that kind introduction. Sue, thank you for your doing fair, balanced reporting and coverage of the news.
Just the weather.
That's correct. You can't get any.
No left or right.
Yeah. Well, it's great to be here this evening with each and every one of you. It's hard to believe that 49 years ago, a group of women came together and formed the Maryland Commission for Women because they believed in making a difference. And over the course of that 49, almost half century, 50 years, I think men and women together understand that each of us has a responsibility to advocate for one another, to advocate for our neighbors, and to advocate for our women as equally as we advocate for men. And in fact, in many ways, given the barriers that have had to been overcome, I remember when I first entered the General Assembly in conversations with then Delegate Pauline Menace, who told me about how she would go to the House Lounge only to find that there was no facilities for women because there was not a tradition, a practice of electing women to the House of Delegates, but the barriers that we've overcome together and that we have changed the world in which we live. 20 years later, because of the hard fights fought and the progress that we've made, and today we're here recognizing a number of women who have made a tremendous difference in Maryland. And we've got our Maryland Women's Hall of Fame, which is an opportunity to honor those who have worked hard and whose efforts have touched not only the lives of women, but of all Marylanders. Tonight we honor a distinguished group of women whose work knows no boundaries. They'll all be introduced later, and we'll be able to applaud and celebrate their achievements. We have an educator, an historian, a physician, a civil rights leader, a scientist, and a philanthropist and volunteer, and I say congratulations to each and every one of you. You know, my daughter, Rebecca, is 19 years old, and she has in her mother an outstanding role model. She has in her grandmother, and extraordinary grandmothers, extraordinary role models. But as I look out in this room, I'm inspired by the work that you've done, the examples you've set, and the model that you are for my daughter. My daughter is still young enough to answer the question, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up, although she's in college, and to say I don't quite know, and she's exploring her undergraduate education. But whether she decides that she wants to be a business owner, or a lawyer, or a dean of a medical school, in women and men, she'll be able to find role models throughout the state of Maryland. You all have made a tremendous difference in the quality of life. I think about some of the women who have broken so many ceilings in Maryland. I think about Barbara Mikulski, who joined the ranks of the Maryland Hall of Fame, I think in the second year that we had the Hall of Fame. And today is the distinguished honor of being the only woman ever to have chaired the U.S. Senate Appropriations Committee and the longest serving woman in the history of the United States. Right here from Maryland, social worker from Maryland. I think about Berta Welcome, the first African-American woman who was elected to the Maryland State Senate. And in her footsteps, the greats like Catherine Pugh and like Verna Rodwell Jones. I think about Mary Ellen Barbera, the first woman appointed Chief Judge of Maryland's Court of Appeals, appointed just last year by Governor Martin O'Malley. And then there are women here in Annapolis whose names may not be familiar to you, but if you know a little bit about Annapolis, it's really where the true power resides. I think about Kristen Jones, who is the Chief of Staff of Speaker of the House Mike Bush. If you want something done in the House, you go to Kristen. You know, I think about Vicki Gruber, who is the Chief of Staff of the Senate President. If you want something done in the Senate, Vicki is where you turn. And I think about my own office, Maya Estes, who is my Chief of Staff, graduate of Spelman College, graduated Georgetown Law School. Before Maya, I had a guy named Earl Adams, and he graduated from Morehouse, and he's all excited and proud about that. But you know, when you got a Morehouse man that really can't get the job done, you got to bring the Spelman woman in. But Tonight, we honor the work done in the past, but we also look to and think about the future. And it's truly an honor for me to stand here today and to do nothing more than to say thank you to the awardees, the honorees this evening, for your work in making Maryland the greatest state in the nation. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor. Next, I would like to call Lillian Cruz up to the podium. She will introduce our next speaker. Lillian.
Thank you, Sue. In May of 2011, Governor O'Malley appointed Mr. Dallas as Secretary of the Maryland Department of Human Resources. Mr. Dallas was confirmed after serving as interim secretary earlier that year. Before his appointment, Secretary Dallas served as Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor O'Malley. In this capacity, he managed state government agencies ranging from economic development, housing, and community development to provide direct resources to women and their families. Prior to his service to the state of Maryland, Secretary Dallas served as the Executive Deputy Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare for 5 years. Today, Secretary Dallas continues to think outside of the box and connects with public and private partners to increase the quality of life to over 1 million Marylanders annually. It is through his public service and visionary ethic that motivates Secretary Dallas to advocate and break down barriers for all women, despite their walk of life. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to all of you Secretary Ted Dallas.
Well, thank you, Lillian, for that very nice introduction. I have no doubt that I will not be able to live up to that very kind introduction. Thank you for it anyway. I'm happy to be here today with so many remarkable Marylanders who have dedicated themselves to improving the lives of others. But first, let me start with a couple things. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Pat Cornish for her excellent leadership for the Women's Commission. And of course, Lieutenant Governor Brown for his dedication to issues important to women, particularly domestic violence. And I'd also like to thank, I have several members of the General Assembly who's seen here, Senator Forehand, who's retiring, a special shout out to her. It's good to see you again, sir. I'd also like to thank Senators Barbara Mikulski and Ben Cardin for their continuing support of the Women's Commission and for DHR. So thank you very much for that. I think we are indebted to them for that. We hold a Hall of Fame induction ceremony in March for Women's History Month every year. And more importantly, we recognize the important role that women have played in the key contributions they have made in helping others across the nation. This evening is my great pleasure to welcome 6 new members to this already incredible group of women. Each of the 6 honorees has demonstrated great courage and perseverance in their service to others. First, the Honorable Dorothy F. Bailey, a longtime resident of Temple Hills, Maryland. She has helped advance the causes of women and girls throughout her position on the Prince George's County Council and throughout local government. Second, Agnes Kane Callum, an author who founded and edited and published an African-American genealogical journal for 25 years. And third, as the executive director for the Institute for a Healthiest Maryland, Dr. Renee Fox. She connects academic partners from Maryland's higher education institutions and public health practitioners to improve the health of Maryland residents. Fourth, Susan Goring, who has served as the executive director of the ACLU since 1996, and you've been involved in the ACLU since 1986. Did I get that? There we go. Fifth, Ann Rees is a lifelong advocate of Charles County, which is apparently extremely well represented in the crowd tonight. She has led the charge to establish the first local shelter for battered and abused women in Charles County. And finally, we honor Henrietta Lacks posthumously. I think you find her story, for those of you who don't know it, very interesting and inspirational, and it's my sincere hope that this honor helps draw attention to her legacy. Thank you to all the honorees for your dedication and your accomplishments. We are all better off because of you. In honor of this occasion, there is a proclamation from Governor O'Malley. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but for those of you who know how the proclamations usually go, there's a bunch of whereases, and then you get, actually hit the microphone. You get the whereases, then you get to the therefores. I'm just going to, with your indulgence, I'm going to read one of the whereases that I think is particularly appropriate for tonight. It says, whereas beyond the many notable Maryland women, the unsung heroines are mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, daughters, neighbors, teachers, and friends whose partnership in building our communities and schools, strength in sustaining our families, involvement in the establishment of virtually every significant charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institution, and leadership in every major movement for progressive and social change and social justice has often gone unrecognized. I think that's particularly fitting for tonight. Unfortunately, too often women's contributions have gone unrecognized, but I wanted to talk about another facet of that whereas there. And I think that for us, I think you don't have to be the head of an institute, you don't have to be an executive director of an organization, you don't have to be an elected official. We all have an opportunity to do something to help people, to help affect the lives of the people around us, particularly the girls and the boys in our communities, and we have the opportunity to make that change. I think it's something that's one of the great opportunities of being a citizen of this great state and of this country, but it's also one of our obligations. So as you hear the incredible stories of these women that we are honoring here tonight, please keep in the back of your mind that you too have an opportunity, and we all have an opportunity to affect change similar to the change that we're going to hear about tonight. So, in closing, I just want to congratulate the honorees again tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this very special evening.
Thank you, Secretary, for your wonderful remarks. Now I would like to call Delegate Aisha Braveboy of the 25th District of Prince George's County to present citations.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm here representing the 44 members of the Legislative Black Caucus, where I serve as chair. We have members in both the House and the Senate representing jurisdictions all over the state of Maryland. And one special thing I want you to know about the Legislative Black Caucus is that the past 4 chairs have been women. So we've got one caucus up here who gets it right. But, just joking. But I also want to say that we work very closely with the Women's Caucus on many important issues, including raising the minimum wage in Maryland. But in addition to that, there's another very important bill that I believe won't get a vote this year, but it's up to women like you and people like you to stand up for it, and that's the Earned Sick Leave bill. You know, and it's miraculous because some folks up here think that we can't pass 2 radical bills in 1 year. We can't raise the wage for, working families, and we can't provide individuals with an opportunity to take care of themselves and their families when they're sick. We can't do that in the same year. I think Maryland has to do better. And I think it's women like you who can stand up, join us up here in Annapolis, and make sure that in the future that's not seen as radical, but the right thing to do. So on behalf of the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland, I'm going to present official citations. I'm not going to read every one citation. They all say the same thing. But I just want to read it. It's, be it hereby known to all that the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland offers sincerest congratulations to all of you in recognition of the induction into the 2014 Maryland Commission for Women's Hall of Fame. You are a stellar example of leadership, commitment, and vision. Best wishes on your future endeavors. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this citation to be presented on this 20th day of March 2014, and it's signed by me, Delegate Aisha Braveboy, Chair. Thank you again.
Thank you, Delegate. Now I'd like to call Ms. Rachel Jones from Senator Mikulski's office and Ms. Joy Leventon from Senator Carter's office to provide readings and present citations as well.
Hello. Senator Cardin is really sorry he can't be here tonight, but I'm very honored to represent him. He has been a national leader on health care, retirement security, and fiscal issues since coming to Congress in 1986. Prior to that, he served as Speaker of the Maryland House of Delegates right here in Annapolis. Senator Cardin believes that how a country treats its women is a prime determinant of its success. He continues to elevate the needs of women and families in the United States and around the world by prioritizing access to health care, financial security, education and job training, maintaining clean air and water, and the protection of a woman's fundamental right of privacy and reproductive freedoms. Through his work on civil rights, Senator Cardin has fought for equal protections under the law for women and men, and has sought to break down the invisible barriers that have been put in place to stop women from obtaining equal pay and equal advancement in the United States and around the world. He's been a true champion of women's issues, and he is delighted to honor the champions who are being inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame tonight, and we also have citations for each of them. They're there.
Good evening. Again, Senator Barbara Mikulski is sorry that she was not able to attend tonight, and Lieutenant Governor Brown beat me to it, but she is the longest serving woman in the history of the United States Congress, and she is also the first woman to chair the Appropriations Committee of the Senate. She'll be fulfilling her duties, but I bring congratulations to the inductees tonight from her, and thanks for your service to the community and your contributions to the state. And so I bring you this message from the Senator. Greetings to the talented and capable women here this evening on the occasion of this induction ceremony, which commemorates Women's History Month 2014. I am proud to join with you to say that the women of America need a raise so that they can raise their families and pay their bills. To support the needs of our economy and all our families, we need to raise the minimum wage and enact the Paycheck Fairness Act. If we espouse economic fairness and opportunity, then if you work hard and play by the rules, you should have a shot at the American dream. This includes raising the minimum wage so work is worth it. A full-time job shouldn't mean full-time poverty. The minimum wage is at a historic all-time low. It has lost 33% of its buying power and now only pays $15,000 a year. That's $3,000 below the poverty line for a family of 3. The current proposal raises the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour over 3 years and indexes minimum wage to inflation in future. Today, more families depend on women as their primary breadwinner than ever before. Women make up 2/3 of minimum wage workers. We need to raise their wages and make sure they're not being redlined or sidelined by paycheck discrimination or outdated policies. The Equal Pay Act was passed in June 1963, when women earned merely 59 cents to every dollar earned by men. And here we are, 50 years later, at 77 cents, still trying to close loopholes. This inequality is felt even more by women of color, where Black women earn 70% of wages of white men, and Hispanic women earn only 60%. We enacted the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act 5 years ago on January 29, 2009. We put Lilly in the law book so families could put more money in their checkbooks. We kept the courthouse door open so we could sue for pay discrimination. Now we need to finish what we started and pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which would prevent discrimination from happening in the first place by prohibiting employer retaliation for sharing pay information and closing loopholes that let employers use just about any reason for paying a woman less than a man, as long as it's a factor other than gender. So the battle is enjoined. This is not about the past. It's not only about the present. It is about the future, our future. Thank you for all you do every day to keep the dream of America alive for all our daughters. Sincerely, Barbara A. Mikulski, United States Senator.
And now we would like to introduce and thank the 2014 Women's Hall of Fame Selection Committee for their time and commitment in selecting this year's inductees. Members of the selection committee, please stand as your name is called.
The committee members are Delegate Barbara Fresh, Chief Catherine Perez Grimes, Rashonda Rozier, Susan Schaefer, Carmen Delgado Bota, Lillian Cruz, and myself. Thank you for your service in honoring the lifelong accomplishments of our 6 inductees tonight.
It is through their giant legacies that women will continue to pave the way for young girls to accomplish their dreams. Thank you so much.
And now it is time to recognize this year's honorees. Our first honoree is the Honorable Dorothy Bailey, and she was nominated by Miss Oretha Bridgewater Sims. Miss Bailey, who is a resident of Temple Hills, Maryland for over 35 years, has an esteemed record of service to the residents of Prince George's County, the state of Maryland, and our nation. During the 2 terms she was elected to public office, she led the Prince George's County Council as its chair twice and vice chair for 3 years. In this role, she has championed issues ranging from child care, elder care, better housing, to improved educational opportunities and parental support. Congratulations, Ms. Bailey, and thank you for your honorable service to our state. We'd like to invite you up to the podium now.
Thank you so very much. This is indeed a great and wonderful honor. Thank you, Women's Commission. Thank you, all of you who are here. I am just delighted. I didn't think I would be so excited about this award, but I really, really am. And I thank you on behalf of my siblings, Kay and Nikki and Anthony, and all of my siblings, Willadine and Maxine. I thank you on behalf of my husband, and on behalf of my children, Robin Brittingham, who's with me tonight. Robin, thank you for driving, getting me here safely, and not getting lost. Thank you, Robin. I love you. You are such a special, special daughter. And I'm just grateful to live in a state where women are recognized for what they do and who they are. It's a great place to live. And now that I've lived 70 plus 10, occasionally I look back over my life and I must share with you a secret, and I don't want you to tell. It cannot leave this room. Don't tell anybody. I've never shared it with anybody before. I was supposed to be rich and famous. But my parents just got in the way because they kept telling me, to whom much is given, much is required. They had all of these things about service is the reason you're on this earth. They did not understand that I really was supposed to be rich and famous. And then I went to a college that the motto was truth and service. And the professors were always telling me, you have to be a credit to your race, and they didn't understand either that I was supposed to be rich and famous. And then I married a man who said that he wanted to be involved in the civil rights movement. I said, I don't, I've already done that. I want to be rich and famous. And then I moved to Prince George's County and reconnected with a friend, Hilda Pemberton, who was involved in Prince George's County. She got me involved, meeting people like Wayne Kerr, who would then become the first African-American county executive, and Howard Stone, and a whole bunch of other people. And I said, these people, I can't get involved in what they're doing. I'm running around with Dorothy Hyde and Camille Cosby and Melba Moore, a songwriter and performer, and they don't know that I am in waiting to be rich and famous. And so, but I got so involved in Prince George's County. It was wonderful. I got to be on the county council. I got to meet all kinds of incredible people. And so I discovered that there's something far more important than being rich and famous, and that is being blessed. I am tremendously blessed. I have children that are wonderful. I have friends that are wonderful. I live in a county where the county executive and the chief of staff, Glenda Wilson, said, let's put that old Dorothy Bailey on the planning board. She can stay awake long enough to do the job. Thank you, Glenda work together in a state where women are recognized and honored. I am tremendously blessed by all the friends. I belong to a breakfast club, and the 6 of us can solve any problem in the world. Give it to us, all of the women we've got. I belong to a sorority and a church, and there's so many people I want to say thank you to, but I know I was only to talk for 2 minutes, and I've used just about all of my minutes. But I am blessed, tremendously blessed. And after those years of service, I have rediscovered that my parents were right. It truly is more blessed to give than to receive. And I have just enjoyed being an elected leader in Prince George's County and traveling throughout the state and throughout this country. Yes, 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 I did not get rich and famous, but I certainly got blessed. And thank you so very much. And the last part was to thank those women who worked so hard to get me nominated. Aretha Bridgewaters, Jackie Woody, and Colette Gingles. They I love with all of my heart. And their nomination for me was so great that I really could have gotten the Nobel Prize.
Thank you very much, the rich and famous Dorothy Bailey. You have enriched all of us. I'm inspired. I like the idea of a breakfast club. Who needs books, right? I'm kidding. I love the book clubs too. All right, our next honoree is Miss Agnes Kane Callum, and she was nominated by Miss Maya Davis. Born in Baltimore, Maryland, Miss Callum has dedicated her life to African American genealogy and history. Throughout her entire career, she was determined to provide a voice to those who had been ignored and often marginalized throughout history. Through her extensive research, Ms. Callum investigated and discovered the genealogy of African Americans, both freed and enslaved, who resided in the state of Maryland. From her research, Ms. Callum first discovered that her paternal grandfather, Henry Kane, was born a slave on the Sauterley Plantation in Hollywood, Maryland in 1860. This discovery led to numerous discoveries of African American families who were in a similar predicament as that of her paternal grandfather. Ms. Callum's passion to find the truth can be found at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum of Maryland African American History and Culture in Baltimore and in surrounding libraries. It is through an inquisitive mind that many generations will know the significant contributions African Americans, both freed and enslaved, made and continue to make to our state and our nation. Congratulations, Ms. Callum, and thank you for all that you have done to discover and preserve our history. And now we want to invite up Ms. Callum. This is Ms. Callum's daughter, Ms. Davis, right? No? All right.
The other one.
Tell me who you are.
Okay, I'm Dr. Callum.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is Dr. Callum.
Yes, my name is.
Okay, good. Please do. Thank you so much. Good. Wanted to make sure.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Martina Callum. I am a family physician who practices emergency medicine. And this is my best friend, my mother, Agnes Kane Callum. She asked me to speak because my mother has Parkinson's disease. She celebrated her 89th birthday on February 24th. I'll make this quick. Her receiving this award does not surprise me. My mother was, is, and will always be a tough cookie. She didn't tolerate foolishness. We, actually attended Morgan State College at the same time. I was a freshman, and she got her GED instead of, finishing high school. And I always wondered, why you didn't finish high school? And she said, because I wanted clothes, I wanted to work. And in my father's house, you either went to school or worked. So she went to work. But when I was 17 at Morgan State, she would tell people, my daughter goes to college, but it really looks like she's on a Roman holiday. She says, I can show these kids how to go to school. And I said, yeah, right. I created a monster. The very first semester, she let me stand in line. We didn't have computers. You had to get to the A building early in the morning. Because if you weren't there early enough, you might not get your classes. So we got her registered, and she had just, like about 6 credits the first semester, and got 2 A's. And she said, well, give me some more classes, give me some more classes. To the point where she was carrying a full-time load. And then it got to the point where I would be in the chemistry lab in the front of the class, and somebody would say, hey, Martina, here comes your mama. So she would visit me at my classes, and of course my instructor said, yeah, I know some other folks whose mamas need to show up. So we actually had a good time going to college together. When I decided to go to medical school, I said, because she had incredible study habits. I didn't have them. And I said, Mom, I need you. Can we go to medical school with me? She said, no, little girl, you're not looking on my paper. So she's been a tough lady all of my life that I know about. Her work is just absolutely amazing. And actually, some of the first information that she found out was that her own mother was a descendant of a woman named Eleanor Butler, who came to St. Mary's County in the 17th century, just about 1679. And she married one of Lord Baltimore's slaves. And it's all documented because their descendants, right about the year 1715, started petitioning right here in Annapolis, the government for their freedom, because at the time that she married him and when they had children, the law was that the children would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, children, because she was free, then the children would be free. And they eventually won their lawsuit, because I've seen the depositions on microfiche way back from 1715. I'll keep it short. She wants to thank everybody, and especially Maya for thinking about her, and all the folks in Sodderly. She is a trustee emeritus at the Sodderly Foundation. Sodderly is a plantation, the oldest working plantation in the Tidewater area. Probably about 380 years old. Did I get that right? Okay, I was close. But her grandfather, who she knew, was born a slave on that plantation. And Dr. Pisco, the owner, was one of the very few slave owners who, when he did the census for the slaves, he listed their first and last names. So you can look at the 1860 slave schedules and see my great-grandfather's name and his brothers and sisters. I guess I should say thank you again.
Yes, let's get a good picture in here. I'll get out of the way. Do I look like a member of the family? I want to be in this family. Congratulations, Agnes, and the very impressive Dr. Callum. I loved your story. Sorry, that's on my list. I'm coming. I can't wait to get down there. Very well done. Our next honoree is Dr. Renee Fox, and she was nominated by Dr. Jay Perman and Dr. E. Albert Reese, who is on hand on behalf of the University of Maryland. As a pediatrician, an associate professor, and community leader, Dr. Renee Fox has changed the conversation on how mothers and their newborns access quality health care. When Dr. Fox served as chairman of the Perinatal Advisory Committee for the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Services System, she was primarily responsible for developing the initial review processes for levels of perinatal care for the state and transport services for newborns that remain in use today. Dr. Fox is also the principal investigator on the Be More for Healthy Babies Upton Druid Heights program to improve birth outcomes for mothers and babies. This program is funded by the Family League of Baltimore City. Throughout her career and medical research, Dr. Fox has improved the quality of life for numerous mothers and their newborns in Maryland. Congratulations, Dr. Fox, and thank you for all that you have done for women and children. We'd like to invite you up to the podium now to receive your award.
Good evening, and thank you. I want to first thank the Commission for Women for having this award, for the selection committee for selecting me, and I want to thank Dean Reese and President Perman for nominating me and their letters of support. I just wanted to say something about my family. All four of my grandparents were immigrants to the United States, 2 from Ireland and 2 from Russia. My parents were fortunate enough to grow up in New York City and to go to both City College and Hunter College in New York, and then to graduate school at Columbia University. And they had opportunities to move up the economic ladder. I've worked passionately to improve the health of children so that they are able to learn and hopefully have similar opportunities my parents, my brother, and I have had. My parents would have been so proud of this moment. My mother worked as a chemist in a paint company. She had a master's in chemistry from Columbia. During World War II, she worked in a paint company and left that to teach, because that's what women did, because she couldn't become a supervisor of men in that paint company. So she would have been especially proud of the advances that women have made, and that the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame celebrates these kind of accomplishments. Without the help of my husband, Dan Floria, I wouldn't have been able to manage my work-life balance. So thank you. So I dedicate this award to all those brave women who have come before me. It's pretty impressive. And to those women who will follow me, especially my 2 terrific daughters, Julia.
Congratulations, Dr. Fox. That's a terrific story as well. So inspiring, isn't it? All right, on to number 4. Our next honoree is Miss Susan Gehring, and she was nominated by the American Civil Liberties Union of Maryland. As the head of the ACLU of Maryland, Susan Gehring has been the mastermind behind some of Maryland's biggest civil rights cases of the last several decades. She is a tenacious fighter for the civil liberties of everyone. But she has had a large impact on the rights of women, specifically through her efforts to defend women's rights to reproductive freedom from attacks in the General Assembly and advocating for an expansion of women's rights in the workplace with the recent passage of a 2013 bill banning employers from discriminating against pregnant women. Under Ms. Gehring's leadership, the ACLU has also advocated to ban the dangerous practice of shackling women during labor in Maryland's detention centers and prisons. Congratulations, Ms. Gehring. We sincerely thank you for your commitment to advancing civil liberties and social justice, and we invite you to the podium to receive your award.
Well, tonight will go down in my personal history as one of my most memorable moments. Thank you so much to the commission. And I also want to thank Gerald Stansbury. Gerald, who's the president of the state conference of the NAACP, for nominating me as well as recommending me, as well as Sally Grant, who is already in the Women's Hall of Fame. Right, Sally? And has been a political activist for years and served on the board of the ACLU for years and is my mentor, one of my mentors. In addition to Chris Brown, who happens to be my other big mentor, who hired me years ago, Chris Brown. And then finally, I want to thank Laura Murphy, who's unable to come tonight. But Laura is actually hails from Baltimore City. Her father was one of the first black judges on the city bench. And she ended up being, do you know Laura? Yeah. And she ended up being, and is, the ACLU National Office's legislative director down in DC on Capitol Hill. It feels funny because I know that you're honoring me tonight for a lot of this work, but when I get the list of work that we're doing, it's really about our work. And by our, I mean basically three groups of people. The first are our staff at the ACLU. You know, we seem like a big organization until people walk in the door and they say, oh my gosh, it's a small place. We do so much with so many fabulous people. So we have 21 staff members and many more volunteers. And those people are 2-1 team players. And they go to work each morning, day in, day out, because the ACLU work for them is a labor of love. The second group of people are our ACLU board members. Coleman Baslon is our current board member. He's here tonight. Chris Brown was our first board member when I came, and he's been with us for so long. In my 27 years, our board has never fissured over any of our controversial ACLU issues. And it has instead balanced principle with pragmatism and always been supportive of me and have always gotten the job done that board members are supposed to do. They've been wonderful. Now the third group of people are our generous funders. And that includes foundations as well as individuals. So let me just mention, at risk of forgetting somebody, I just want to mention tonight our Marion Frank Emerson are with us, Marion Larry Roberts are with us, Jane Harrison, Chris Brown and Leslie. All of them are emblematic of many, many more who fund us. We're a membership organization. We're supported by 14 or 15,000 people who are members of the ACLU around the state. The foundation community has been wonderful. Bob Embry at the Able Foundation, along with Terry Stoudemire. Betsy Ringel is here from the Blaustein Foundation, and Diana Morris is here tonight from the OSI Baltimore. Now, those are three of many foundations that fund us, but those three have always been leaders in not just giving generously, which they absolutely have done through the years and faithfully for decades, all of these three and many others, but they also have done something that's important to note. The ACLU is a very controversial organization, and when we file lawsuits, we're not always the most popular kid on the block, but these foundations have stood behind us and funded us and done some very controversial cases and even controversial clients every now and then. So we're very, very indebted to them. Now, all these institutions and people have substantially changed the social and political landscape in Maryland. And if you wouldn't mind, I would love a big round of applause for all of them, because all of them are really giving the honor with me tonight. So if you could. Now, thanks to the vigilance of first of all, the Commission for Women, but also many individual women who have through the years stepped forward, stood fast, demanded much. We have had a lot of progress, even in my years, through the time I've spent in Maryland on women's rights. But I want to actually take a moment and talk about one of our lawsuits that's lasted over 20 years. It was filed in 1995. Because I want to highlight for us tonight, as I stand here, the need for more progress for women. And these women I'm going to talk about are the women, thousands of women actually, who live in the most dangerous neighborhoods in Baltimore City and in the state of Maryland. These neighborhoods are a legacy of Maryland's Jim Crow past. These neighborhoods are isolated ones. They have largely emptied out through the years, both because the public and private financing is gone from them. Nobody is investing in those neighborhoods. And many families who could move have moved. So these women are isolated, mostly single moms with their children. Now, the ACLU 20 years ago had a lawsuit against HUD in the city of Baltimore, and it took a long time to grind through the wheels of justice. But we finally prevailed against HUD, and the judge sided with us on the remedy. And we settled the case just recently against HUD about a year and a half ago. And we represented 14,000 African American families in public housing, but we have helped nearly 3,000 families, many more children, move from those isolated neighborhoods to what we call opportunity-rich areas of the metropolitan area. And the results are magnificent. Those mothers move for the same reasons that any mother in this room would move for their children. There are opportunities that we take for granted, things like safe streets, better schools, better health, more jobs for the parents, and most of all, hope. This work has changed their lives, but there are still many more thousands of women who are still awaiting the chance to move with their children and aspire to new life chances. And here's what's important to know. Their extreme and intergenerational poverty is not their fault. And it also is not a simple fix to personal prejudice. This is what we call structural racism. It has to do with housing policies that are deeply embedded since the 1930s. So the reforms that are needed are obviously going to have to take time, and they're obviously going to have the political will of many of us, and really all of us. But tonight I want to ask you for just two things. I want to ask you to recognize their existence, because these women are often faceless. People don't know them, people don't see them, they have no occasion to go through their neighborhoods. In fact, they avoid their neighborhoods. And secondly, I want to ask your recognition for our common claim with them to the right to aspire to a better life. Now finally, I'm going to shift gears to end my time up here by talking just a minute on the subject of modeling equality and on a personal note. So I want to recognize my son Austin, who is here with us tonight. And I've been a single mom for most of Austin's life, and we've made it through, and he's about ready to go to college. Now this very morning, and this is a true story, we were doing the mother-child thing. Lots of mothers, you'll recognize this. I was lightly reprimanding Austin for forgetting to do his tasks, his chores that I had asked him to do more than once. And amid our banter, he turned to me and he said, "Mom, you've met your match." Now the truth is, I didn't say much, but the truth is, Austin has met his match. And the match is the mom, right? Well, the larger truth is that he and I looked at each other because we both met each other as equals. Now, Austin understands deeply what relationship to a strong woman means. He's learned that over the years. And it will help him in his life. It will also help him change the world. And so I want to end in that spirit with thanking and honoring everyone in this room, not just the women, but the men who live and work with strong women. Because one day, and one relationship at a time, we are changing the world. And all of you out there are modeling what it means to be a strong woman and what it means to have a strong woman in your life. So thanks to all of you. I honor you. Thank you.